Filipinas are underrepresented in STEM. There's a plant biologist in Hamilton who's Filipina, and maybe encourage them to consider career in plant biology or STEM.
Dr. Vera Velasco finished her Ph.D. at McMaster University in 2017, and Vera won the Mitacs Globalink Research Award in 2019. And currently, she is a Senior Research Associate at the University of Toronto in Mississauga. So maraming salamat ulit, Vera. We usually want to start with something like an icebreaker. And would like to ask you, what book are you currently reading?
I read this through Audible, so I'm not actually reading it. The book is called The Power of Habit, and this time I'm listening to it with my sons. A factual book about how much our lives, personal and otherwise, have been automatized by our brains and are thus known to be called as habits. Hypothesize that it's the brain's way of saving energy. Because if the brain always needs to make active decisions, then that will cost more energy.
I'm just wondering, have you also made broader, or what are your broader connections to the Filipino or Filipina community in Hamilton?
I said I came here as a graduate student at McMaster University, and because McMaster is in Hamilton, I had to live in Hamilton. So that's in 2010. Then my son came to Hamilton from the Philippines when I was close to finishing grad school. I think I don't remember. I think it's around 2014 actually, or 2015. And, so since then we've been in Hamilton, and we now consider Hamilton as our hometown. And now that I work at the University of Toronto in Mississauga, I just feel like I have to be here in Hamilton. So because I've already kind of established friends, and I feel like my roots are here already. So I sporadically attend Hamilton International Baptist Church. The pastor is a Filipino, and apart from that, I have a few friends outside of a few Filipino friends outside of the group, but I'm mostly connected to them.
What Filipino expression do you use or remember the most, and when do you use it or think about it?
So it's anak, because I always have to call him like anak, either yelling or lovingly. It's
Yeah, I can relate. I do the same with my daughter. I call her anak.
I have kind of made this rule where I speak English only until 6 p.m. and then my brain just can't speak English anymore. I can't do that anymore. So I still talk in my Tagalog language. I am born in the Philippines and raised in the Philippines, and Tagalog, will always be my number one language. I think the other skill that I gained growing up in the Philippines is cooking, sewing, all this household survival skills. In my house, we still eat Filipino food 99% of the time. For connections, apart from my church attendance, I am a member of the Alumni Association in Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
I've attended once.
Let's talk about your experiences and your line of work. What motivated you to start? What motivated you to come to Canada or to choose McMaster?
I'm a plant physiologist. I study how plants respond to abiotic stressors, for example, lack of water, too much heat, lack of nutrition as it relates to fertilizers. But I did not always wanted to be a plant physiologist. I wanted to be a medical doctor, just like most of students who takes biology. I couldn't. At third year in UP Los Baños, when I was dissecting a cat for a zoology course, I hated it, and that made me realize that I'm not a doctor, medical doctor. At the same time, I started appreciating the complexity of plant processes in other courses, just such as plant biochemistry and molecular biology.
Yeah.
And as we all know, plants don't move very far, right? They may face to the sun, left, right, but that's about it. And they might crawl if it's a vine, for example. But they don't go from one place, say from outside to inside your house when it becomes too hot. So unlike animals who has the ability to take shelter when the weather becomes unbearable, plants have to perform an orchestra of changes in their chemistry to adapt to these changes or extreme or stressful environments.
It fascinates me how you have explained that. That's true. Like plants have their own way of coping, so different from animals and from human beings.
As a plant physiologist, I tap into resources, techniques in biochemistry, techniques in molecular biology, so like genes, and techniques in, like just what, say for example, a farmer or anybody can do is look at the plant and look at the color of the plant. Is it wilting? Is it red or is it brown? Like those. So yeah, that's pretty cool field, I find.
How did you find about McMaster University? So where were you teaching in the Philippines or?
No, I was not teaching in the Philippines. So I had a Canadian friend who invited me to Canada as a visitor.
Yeah.
It's actually their family who invited me, and I obliged. She was doing her grad school at McMaster.
Yeah.
And she told me to, hey, why don't you do it?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah, sure. And then I started looking for professors that has the same interest. I found McMaster and I applied and I got accepted. So yeah.
So the rest is history.
Coming to Canada is challenging, right? I think everybody finds it challenging to move to a different country.
Yeah.
Anything unfamiliar is uncomfortable. But I found adapting to academic life in Canada to be challenging because I felt like I don't have a strong writing skill compared to, at least my cohort at that time. And I had to work extra hard to make, the gap between me and my colleagues a little bit narrow.
Yeah.
And I find it really weird that science in Canada, they cherish creative thinking.
Oh.
Because when I was growing up in the Philippines, at least my impression is that creativity is for the arts and facts is for science, right? So I felt like in the Philippines, it was, the distinction was very clear and emphasized by educators. But now that I'm, like a little bit more mature in the field, I feel like that's actually a very important skill to have, which I find you have to develop starting when you're little.
Your observation is really interesting in that sense, and could also speak to people who want to pursue, graduate studies in Canada like yourself, or even for Filipinos within our community.
I went through research. As a kid, I always liked completing a project. And doing research is like that. Like you develop a hypothesis, you have a goal, and then you work towards the goal. You tick boxes, and it makes you feel fulfilled as I tick the box, you know, every day or throughout say a month or a year. And I like the novelty in research. That's why I'm in research. I am yet to meet another Filipina in plant biology or Filipina-Canadian. I am very excited for that day to happen. I think we are just underrepresented in biology altogether.
Faced with challenges, whether in life or your occupation. Especially you mentioned, you know, like moving to another country, moving to another culture. Doing academic work is difficult. Like any, you know, other occupations as well. It's difficult. But how did you overcome challenges?
It's so funny. I Google, I research.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
So I try to look into how other people address similar challenges. And then I develop my own strategy based on my past experiences and others. But also, I think what's important is, you know, a group of people that will support you. A community is very important to me. And the recognition that there are things that I cannot fix, and I will just have to accept, and that those things I need to ask God for strength and composure. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. A researcher from your professional and personal life. Yeah. Hopes for the Filipino-Canadian community in Hamilton and in the country.
I'm glad to hear about your initiative, because I am hoping that maybe we could have a close-knit Filipino community. I would like to see the community to be brought together by an event, you know, once or twice a year, and so that we can show Filipino-Canadian kids what Filipinos are all about. You know, we're all about joy, humor, we're all about flexibility, empathy, and I don't think it shines, like, I don't think Filipino, and I could be very wrong, I don't think Filipino kids in Canada see that necessarily. Like, they probably see that within the context of their homes, but not
as a community.
Filipino community.
Yeah, spoken like a parent. Because actually, this project, one of the driving force for this project is about my daughter as well. Like, I was thinking of her, you know, what is it to be a Filipina-Canadian? What resources are out there in the community? What role models are out there?
Filipinas are underrepresented in STEM. And I just want to be visible to the Filipino and Filipino in Hamilton community. To show them that, you know, like, there's a plant biologist in Hamilton who's Filipina, and maybe encourage them to consider career in plant biology or STEM.
Yeah, Vera, thank you so much for your time, and let's keep in touch.